Now, in the last class, I know we talked a lot about internal factors and external factors, but we didn't, I don't think, put it in this perspective. We have the fundamental attribution bias. This is where people often, think of yourself, ignore environmental factors that affect behaviors. You see somebody in a bad mood and you go, oh, they're just grumpy. They're always miserable or something like that, without thinking about what they've been through or why they're moody. If a car runs off the road at 2 o'clock in the morning, the person's always drunk, right? You didn't factor in that it might have been a deer, a dog, a bike, a malfunction of the vehicle. So ignoring environmental factors that affect behaviors. These environmental factors we can call external to the person, but within the organization. The person might be grumpy because they're frustrated that the equipment doesn't work. Maybe it's the management style. So when we look at internal factors, it's the self, the person's skills, the personality, abilities, and attitude. And then the external factors could, as we just talked about in other videos, include the culture, the norms, management or management style, policies, and rules. So I know some of you have been through this and you know internal factors and external factors very well, but if I take one of you and put you at one company, you're going to morph. You're going to be influenced by those external factors that are within the organization. And then if I take you to another organization, you're still going to be you, but you're going to be different because you're going to be influenced by the culture, norms, management style, policies, or rules. So it's important to think about that. And I don't mind making another video about it because it is that important. It's one of those concepts like the Hawthorne effect, theory X and theory Y, internal factors, external factors. It's that important, probably a top 10 management concept. So if we look at this, and I believe I used the same example, I like the example. You've heard the phrase, can't stand the heat in the kitchen. If you can't stand the heat in the kitchen, get out of the kitchen. Well, when you say that, you're saying the person cannot handle the external factors in the kitchen, which is the heat, so they should just get out. When management could take another approach and say, reduce the heat in the kitchen. If you can't stand if the heat is so bad in the kitchen, why don't we get rid of the heat? It's not about making things more difficult for people or proving that people are so tough. It's about making life easier for the employee. If the external factors are getting in the way of the performance of the employee, we need to look at the external factors. Now, some of you are going to be taking 388, which is the Deming class. And one of the Dr. Deming's sayings is, don't just do something, stand there. See, that's totally opposite from what we've been taught. We've been taught to don't just stand there, do something. But he says, no, don't just do something, get out of the kitchen if you can't stand the heat. Don't just do something, stand there and think about what the employees are going through. If you have an employee that's frustrated and moody and morale is down for this person, ask yourself, is it the person or is it the external factors? This is a wildly important concept. So think about that. Think about things at your workplace or in your life that upset you, frustrate you, bring you down. Maybe you have that friend that's around all the time that's always criticizing everything you do, and that brings you down. Well, that's an external factor. Get rid of it. I don't think any of us get up in the morning to be hateful, but something along the way happens and we get frustrated. So get rid of the heat in the kitchen. Make the external factors positive and motivational if possible, and make things, why are we, oh, we are all supposed to work real hard. Well, no. The job of the manager is to make life easy for the employee so they can be successful. Now, we have another concept called the self-serving bias, where we take more personal responsibility for success than failures. Now, if you fail your test, you fail the test, who's to blame? Well, if you didn't study at all, you might take it and say, oh, okay, it was my fault. But normally, the first thing, the human instinct is to go, it was the instructor, the questions weren't expected, or the questions were confusing, and maybe even blame it on the weather. But these are all external factors. If in case of failure, you look towards external factors to blame. But if you pass the test, you will say, I am so smart. And that's a tendency for us to do. And then we look towards ourselves and the internal factors. That's why we succeeded. I'm kind of embarrassed, but about 5 years ago, I guess it was, there was a mega bingo or something, and it was on TV with all the ping pong balls, and you bought the sheet. And I was sitting there with my family. We just only did this for about a month, not big gamblers here. As a family thing, we watched TV and watched the ping pong balls come down, and we each have a sheet, and I would be going, oh, I got that one. Oh, I got that one. Did you get that one? Oh, I got that one too. Look at me. It's kind of embarrassing when you look back on it. But I was getting an attitude. I was going, hey, I'm successful because I'm so smart. It was random chance that my sheet had most of the numbers. So we have to look into those things. Fundamental attribution bias, ignoring environmental factors that affect behaviors. Don't just do something, stand there. If you see somebody that has problems, don't just be quick to judge. Stand there and think, what is going on? Is it an internal factor or is it an external factor?